So we're live. Facebook?
IG.
IG1, IG2 coming. And then the chat's gonna pull up, or do we have to, so we can see?
No, people have to join first. So yeah, like
cool.
we have 24, 2.
Hello everybody. Another live Q&A. So I'm just gonna be here for 20 or 30 minutes, just taking people's questions. You can ask me whatever, diet, training, exercise, business, whatever you want. You want to sign in here, and then we can get on Legion, then it should work with it upside. Hey everybody. Dolce Victory, what's up? Gil Tavares, what's up? You can just throw questions down below in the chat, and I'll just take them as they come. Hello Facebook peoples. Again, just if you want to ask any questions, diet, training, exercise, whatever, just put them in chat, and then I'll answer them as they come. All right, how long to go from 12% to, or 18% to 12% body fat? Go to Muscle for Life and check out, just go to the homepage blog feed and look for the article, how long it's gonna take to get 6-pack abs, and that'll show you. It even has like a chart, so it'll give you a visual on it. Thoughts on increasing pulse from 2 scoops to 3? Yeah, you just gotta watch your caffeine intake. If that's your only caffeine for the day, I'd say that's fine. If you're having that plus coffee plus other stuff, you're probably having more caffeine than you should be having. So that's what you should keep in mind. Here, you want? Yes.
Yeah.
We're setting up another one here. Hold on. All right. It looks like utter shit, but hopefully that's not what it looks like.
No, it doesn't. Okay.
Okay, good. Now we have Facebook and 2 Instagrams going. Is bodybuilding a sport? Yeah, sure, by definition, right? I mean, it doesn't take necessarily the same type of technical skill that other sports take, but it is definitely a sport. How long is too long to be cutting? Really depends where you're starting. So if you have someone that's starting very overweight, I would say, they might need to cut 6 months. Like, that might be the healthy thing to do to get down to a normal body fat range. But if you're starting, lean and looking to get really lean, I would say, as a guy, once you start getting down into the, I'd say probably 6% range is when you're really gonna start feeling it, maybe even sooner. And which just shows you like what people do to get, ready for a competition. Sure, even if you know what you're doing, you don't necessarily have to suffer, but it's gonna be uncomfortable. Josh and I were just talking about that just the other day, that he didn't like that a lot of people I guess it's kind of a thing right now among competitors to say that, oh, you don't have to suffer to compete, you don't have to go through all this shit. And ultimately what happens though is they just end up not really getting into the type of condition that you would expect from a competitive bodybuilder or physique athlete. And because the reality is, like, if you're gonna get as lean as you need to get and preserve the muscle you need to preserve, that's a long cut. You might be looking at a 30-week prep. A lot of people, if it's natural especially, 30-40 weeks of prep, that's a pain in the fucking ass. You don't necessarily have to suffer, but it's not gonna be very enjoyable, especially toward the end. So that's just part of the sport, so to speak. It's not for people that don't like to be uncomfortable. Okay, let's go over here to Legion's IG. What competitions have you been involved in as an athlete or a coach? None. I've never competed. I've worked with people that compete, but that's not even really my specialty. I've just helped them mainly with diet stuff and tapering their training down a bit so they don't burn themselves out. But I don't offer like my coaching service. I don't promote it as something for people that are into competing. That's something actually I would like to offer as a service, but I wouldn't do it myself personally because, again, I don't compete. I haven't competed, so I would feel more comfortable hiring a coach that walks the walk and have people work with that person, because there's as much as I know about a lot of things in health and fitness related, there are things that you only can know through personal experience. Come over here to my Instagram. So do I believe jet fuel burns hot enough to melt steel beams? Who knows? You know what I mean? Some physicists say that's absolutely impossible, and some say that it's absolutely possible. But I do know that World Trade Center 7 building made less sense than that. All right, let's come over here. Come over here to Facebook. So should you do drop sets to get lean? No, drop sets have nothing to do with getting lean. They just help you increase volume, which I mean, I used to do a lot of that when I first started training, and now I do very little of it. I kind of just focus on getting stronger, and drop sets aren't very good for getting stronger. I got told not to lock out on my reps. What's your view on this? Yeah, I mean, you should definitely lock out. That's how you finish reps. I know that the idea is that by not locking out, you can increase time under tension. Go to Muscle Life and search for time under tension. You'll see an article I wrote on that, where I just think that like emphasizing time under tension over everything else is kind of just a mistake, and isn't even really, it's not supported by science. Of course, time under tension matters. It's not that it doesn't matter. It's just that in terms of gaining muscle and strength, it doesn't matter as much as some people will. You have some people that try to sell you on super slow training, never locking out, and so forth. All right, so as a woman, I find it really hard to retain the muscle I've gained when I'm cutting. I seem to lose almost as much muscle as fat when I cut. How do I shred without losing too much muscle? The main things there are gonna be, don't do too much cardio. So you shouldn't be doing like hours of cardio a day, making sure you eat enough protein, making sure that you're not in too large of a caloric deficit. If you head over to Legion and you search for lose fat and not muscle, you'll see an article I wrote on this topic specifically. I don't have any questions over here from Legion. So Legion Instagram, if you want to throw any questions, if you want me to answer anything, just put them in chat and then I will get to them. Okay, so I'm gonna start also calling people's names out. So yeah. All right, so Karimovic, post-workout pec cramps, what can cause that? I would say the first place I would look if you're having issues with cramps would be if you're not drinking enough water, or if your diet is deficient in magnesium. Those would be the two places I would look. I mean, it could be caused by other things, but those, you might get lucky, and if it's one of those things, that's easy. Okay, coming over here to Legion Instagram, Rajith J, how accurate are the calipers when measuring body fat? If you're talking about the calipers that I recommend, I would say, it's fairly accurate. You can get a good estimate within probably 1 or 2% of reality, and that really goes with anything. Even DEXA can be just as off as bioimpedance, really. I mean, so no matter what you do to measure your body fat percentage, it's an estimate, it's a guess. So in the end, you might even just want to go by the mirror and just go, cool, this is about what 10% looks like. You're not going to see ab vascularity at 10%, for example, at least by most measurements of what 10% is. Okay, I'm coming over here to Facebook. Chris Pillar, do you guys have a plant protein? Oh, good question. Do you think it's better than whey? We have a vegan protein, a plant protein launching next week, actually. It's called Thrive. So if you're on our email list, you'll hear about it, or if you follow us at all, you'll hear about it. And I don't think it's necessarily better than whey, but it's a good alternative to whey. And if you go to Muscle for Life and you search for animal protein, you'll see an article I wrote on animal protein versus plant protein, especially for building muscle. You might find it interesting. Coming back here to my Instagram, CD Baxter, what kind of mobility work do you do? I'm glad you asked, actually. That's something that I do a routine 2 or 3 times a week right now. It's about 15 minutes. It was a little bit longer previously, but now I've gotten the time down. It's just an upper and lower with particular focus on my upper and my shoulders, because I had that biceps tendonitis issue, whatever. It's been months now that it's been better, but I don't want it to come back. And I know now from working with physical therapists that what kind of led to it. Structurally, for example, my collarbone here on the right side, it doesn't have a full proper range of motion in terms of rotation, so that in turn caused issues over here in my shoulder, which in turn caused, referred down into my biceps and so forth. So I kind of have a custom little routine that I'm doing, and I'm just not doing any very heavy barbell pressing right now. I can go as heavy as I want on dumbbells, but heavy barbell is probably going to re-aggravate it. So I want to really improve. I just want to get this is an issue also I've had really. I can remember as a teenager playing hockey and feeling tightness up here. So unfortunately, it's something that I think has been an issue for a long time. It just didn't really become a noticeable problem until more recently. So I figure it's going to take a bit of time to kind of undo whatever. Interestingly enough, the PT I saw, he even was showing how it started with my diaphragm. So the diaphragm is like it's like a balloon that kind of runs across your torso, and it actually plays an important role in helping engage all your core and stabilize your core. And so when I was a kid, when I was like 13, I'd be on the computer a lot if I wasn't in school or whatever, and I'd be sitting with my right leg up and I'd kind of lean my body against my leg, and basically the right side of my diaphragm wasn't able to actually work the way that it should, so I kind of trained it into not working properly. So that in turn, so the diaphragm, my right side of my diaphragm not fully contracting properly, referred up into then if your core can't fully stabilize, then your neck muscles, the SEM muscles in your neck have to try to take over, and then that led to collarbone and blah blah. Anyways, it's interesting. It is interesting to kind of trace it back and go, oh well, that's how I got kind of fucked up. But now I have a little routine I'm working on, and the reason why I'm telling you all this actually is I'm going to be working with this physical therapist to put together a I'm going to be building digital courses for the new Muscle for Life that's coming later this year, and I want one on mobility in particular. And I'm going to be working with this guy, and I'm excited to do it because it's going to be a great, I want to take, the problem with mobility out there with right now is there's so much information, and it's very technical, it's jargon heavy, it's hard to understand, and it's not prescriptive. So you can go pick up Becoming a Supple Leopard, and it's a good book, and I like Starrett, I like what he's doing, but go pick it up and see if you can even decipher what to do. You know what I mean? If you're just like, let's say you don't have any problems and you just want a basic routine to stay that way, that's one thing. Or if you do have problems, let's say you have shoulder problems, go look at it and you're just gonna be like, one, I don't understand half the shit he's talking about. Two, do I just do all of these exercises? Do I just like randomly pick shit until I feel better? You know what I mean? So I want to do something that brings it back, almost like a mobility 101, teach the basics so you understand the theory, you understand the basic terminology, you understand enough of biomechanics to understand why it works, why it's important, and then get into a prescriptive routine, something simple that you can do upper and lower. Anyways, I don't want to eat up all the time with me pitching something that doesn't exist, but it's going to be coming. So I'll get back to questions here. So I'm going to come over to Facebook. So Danny, in BLS, why do you recommend seated military press instead of standing? Because I like seated more for the purpose of overloading your shoulders in particular. I understand standing is a better whole body exercise, that's true. But you know, and these days also I'll say I do alternate between them, but if you want to focus on your shoulders as much as possible, I prefer seated over standing, because standing, it requires a lot more of your lower back and your core. It's harder to do technically, it requires more skill, which means that you're just not gonna be able to put as much weight up, so that's why. All right, coming here to my Instagram. So Jazz95, can you reach muscular potential with calisthenics? No, definitely not. You just can't. You're not going to be able to, you know, progressively overload your muscles in the way that you can with weights. I mean, how do you replicate a heavy deadlift with just body weight? You just can't do it. Okay, coming over here to Legion's Instagram. Do I believe in TUT training? That's John 85 Mills. Head over to Muscle for Life and search for time and retention. You'll see an article I wrote on that. Alex Pollard, if you're going to start a cut, should you start with 25% deficit? Yep, that's where I start personally. I wouldn't go higher than that unless you're very overweight and you can afford to do that. But you know, I always start as I figure. And also, to be fair, my cuts have never really gone longer than 10 or 12 weeks because I generally stay pretty lean, and that's one of the reasons I do it, is because I don't want to have to do a 3-month cut, you know, or longer. So I mean, I guess 10, 12 weeks. So I mean, I guess that I think the longest actually. So I don't want to be doing like 5-6 month cuts. Okay, coming over here, Danny Butters, how long would it take someone to maximize muscle and strength gains? I mean, by maximize, if you mean achieve your, what you really like 90x% of your genetic potential, probably 10 years. What do you think, Corey?
7 to 10 years.
Yeah, that's probably a good guess. When Robert Spiel, when do you want your child to start working out? I don't know, whenever he wants to. R Perks Magoo, what's your view on probiotics? Interesting subject, something honestly I haven't read a ton about, and it's very complex because you're dealing with the microbiome, and that's but you know, I know from what I've read and talking with smart people that a lot of the probiotics that, like, if you just go to Whole Foods and pick up a probiotic, it's probably shit. They're probably dead, the bacteria, so it's actually worthless. But there are strains of probiotics that are known to help with gastrointestinal issues. Like, so if you have problems, there are definitely probiotics that can help. And if you have a healthy gut, there are likely strains of probiotics that also would be beneficial, but there's just not enough research available yet. There are a couple, again, I'm speaking with a couple people that that know a lot more about that in particular than I do. They've even asked, like, for supplement formulations if I could source very specific strains. Unfortunately, you can't even get them yet. So I'm curious to see how things are going to play out on that myself, actually. Okay, coming over here to Facebook's David Nielsen, stubborn body fat won't go away, and I train fasted and do HIIT. Anything else I can do? Yeah, so head over to Muscle for Life and search for not losing weight, and see if you're making any of those mistakes, because it may actually just be something simpler than having to get fancier with your training and supplementation and so forth. It's fucking hot in here. Okay, coming over here to Facebook. So Nick Stratton, could walking 6 miles at work be causing overtraining because I got a new job but kept my old calorie intake? Fat loss stalling hardcore. I mean, that is quite a bit of walking. Walking generally, one of the nice things about walking as cardio is it's not hard on the body, but 6 miles a day is a fair amount. I mean, it kind of depends, I guess, on the rest of how do you have your life set up. Are you getting enough sleep? What are you doing in the gym? What's your diet like? Now, in terms of fat loss stalling, it sounds like your energy expenditure has gone up, but you haven't changed your calories. So if you have some sort of fat loss issue, that could be related to water retention. If you head over to Muscle for Life or Legion and search for water retention, you'll see an article I wrote on that. And you can also search for not losing weight at Muscle for Life, and that might also give you some help. Coming back to my Instagram, Logan Beatty. Okay, so if you could give your freshman year high school self one piece of advice, what would it be? That's a good question. I feel like I could have gotten started on this path that I've kind of found for myself a bit earlier. So maybe that. I mean, I don't know. When I actually graduated high school young. I was 15 because I never took spring breaks or summer breaks, and I just studied through it. And in Florida, where I was going to school, if you have enough credits, you can graduate early. And I didn't plan on going to college, so I wanted to just start working, and so that's what I did. I graduated young, and then I started working, and then we just also spent a fair amount of my time doing other more business-related training. So I don't know. I mean, my life has been pretty unconventional, honestly, and I guess it still is. So I feel like in that way, I don't even know if I'm necessarily a great role model. I mean, I don't know. That's a whole nother discussion. Anyways, continuing. Johnny Perry, favorite cheat food. God, I was just saying, I don't really even like cheat that much anymore because I just don't really feel compelled to. But really good pasta. That is probably one of my favorite just indulgence type of meals. Any update? Carter, good. Any update in the Legion protein bars? Yep, we have samples coming next week, I believe. They're having trouble sourcing a couple of the ingredients because they're ingredients that aren't used very frequently, so that's it. Coming over to Facebook here, Martin, so what's your body fat percentage right now, and are you going to bulk again? Probably around 10%. I'm pretty lean. Bulking, I don't know. Like, I don't really, I just don't know if I have a reason to. If I really wanted to, I guess, try to gain, X number of pounds, like if I wanted to put on another 5 pounds of muscle, then I would do it. But right now, or just put on another 5 pounds as quickly as possible. Right now though, I kind of like just staying lean. Again, I like staying, within 4 or 5 weeks of being very lean, and just kind of eating around maintenance. So, I don't know, we'll see. Coming over here to Legion Insta. I think the battery's almost dead. What a shitty phone.
What is going on?
I mean, the phone never gets used, that's why. But anyways. Okay, so, Will. So any plans at all on that Legion energy drink you mentioned a while ago? Actually, yeah, that'll be next year. Like right now, we need to get through a few more powders and a few more just like the protein bar things people really want, and then we do have a formulation for an energy drink that I like, but we're not going to start really working on it until probably later this year, so it'll be a next year thing.
Do you want to do 5 more?
Yeah. Okay. So. Here, let's come over here to Facebook. Let's see. Roman, how long does it take for you to drop 1% of fat? Well, I mean, it kind of depends, again, where you're at and what you're doing. But if you can lose, let's say 1 to 2 pounds, let's say on average, if you can lose about a pound of fat a week, you're doing well. So you can just do the math on that. It is possible to lose more, but you know, when you're losing weight, it's not just fat. You have fat, water, glycogen, sometimes a little bit of muscle as well. Left, GRGZAS. How long and what percentage of body fat will we stretch our bulk? I mean, if someone's gonna bulk, I like to see at least 3 months, but ideally I would say upwards of 6 months, and starting lean. So at 10, let's say you're a guy at 10% or less, and kind of stretching it over that time period to stopping somewhere around 15, 16, maybe 17%. Because then, one, the fatter you get, the worse your body's muscle building machinery works, so to speak. And then two, the cut is going to be, you know, it just gets longer. So the fatter you end your bulk, the longer you're going to have to be in a deficit. So that kind of, I guess, you know, that's up to you. So Cindy, following TLS, would it hurt to throw a few lighter weight supersets at the end? No, I think that's fine. Your lower body gets a lot of work, so I would probably be, I wouldn't say careful, but if you're gonna do it with anything, I would say maybe do it with your upper body, or if you do want to add in a little extra volume on your lower body, do it like on your last week or your week before before you deload or rest, just so you don't. I wouldn't necessarily do it every week for the entirety. Joey, so how do you survive working out with a newborn baby? It can be tough. I mean, obviously you're not gonna be sleeping as much. You can try to play catch up on sleep, maybe on the weekends, and you know, you just have to be more deliberate with your time, I think. And if that means you have to go down to 3 days a week, maybe you can work out with your wife, where like, so you're gonna, you know, you're gonna be a little sleep deprived and not work out on those days, and then you're gonna be able to catch up a little bit and work out. But yeah, I understand it's difficult. It's not ideal in that from that perspective. So you just kind of gotta, you know, make do, and just minimally you can at least maintain where you're at. You don't have to fall backward. Even if you can only train 2 or 3 times a week, you can maintain more or less all your muscle and strength on just 2 or 3 workouts a week. 3 for sure, 2 even. It might be hard to gain, but so Preston, what business is more fun to work on, Legion or MFL? That's a good question. I guess Legion, because it's more established right now, but we're going to be giving MFL a lot of love this year because it needs it, and you know, it gets a lot of traffic, it's popular, but it's just under monetized, and it's kind of like, it's in its adolescent phase right now. It needs to come into its own and become a big boy. So we're going to be completely overhauling it, and again, adding a store and digital courses, and we're doing a lot of cool stuff with it. So I'm excited for that in particular. It's just right now, it's kind of just like, I'm just writing articles and handling, you know, some logistical things with the coaching service and the meal plan service and stuff. Okay, over here. Spec Hunter, is it okay to gym in the morning and do insanity training in the evening? Yeah, sure. So last question. All right. Michael Hilberg, when will Europe shipping through Amazon be available? Working on it. It's hard to say because we're dealing with governments and they're slow as fuck and don't care, but it is moving. So we actually finally found a company that so what they do is they consult on stuff like this, and they're going to be helping us quite a bit. So I mean, I'm just going to give us plenty of buffer and say by the end of the year we should have everything up on Amazon UK and offer affordable shipping on our website. I very much hope that it will be sooner than that. I think maybe in the next 3 to 4 months it could happen, but it's hard to say because again, like, you're dealing with governments and you know, customs agencies, and that they don't necessarily, I mean, in some cases they don't even respond. Okay, so I think that's everything for now. We could go on forever, but it's have to do other things. But thank you for taking the time. Thank you for you know, asking all the questions. If I didn't get to your question, I'm sorry. I was trying to go, you know, I have 3 phones here basically, so I'm kind of just going back and forth. But we're gonna be doing this every week. So I think we're just saying, right, like every Wednesday. Is that what we're saying?
We're going to try to vary days.
Oh, okay.
We want to give different people different times to tune in because we have viewers from all over the world. Okay,
good. So we're going to be doing different days, different times, but we are going to be doing one every week. So
we announced that in our Facebook group.
Okay, good. So if you're in the Facebook group, Team Legion Facebook group, then you are going to get announcements. If you're not, then you should get in the group so you can get the announcements. And we'll also like probably be posting about it and stuff. So anyways, thank you everyone, and I will see you next week.